I'm sure you don't want to dwell on the Stoke game, but I just wonder, does it have a palpable effect on morale and those who took part in that game? I know it was a much changed team, but has it had any effect?
Yeah, of course. Listen, we don't want to lose games. We don't enjoy losing games at all. But in terms of having impact on the group going into Saturday, no, it won't. I think we've moved on pretty quickly from that. We've talked about it, certain parts of it, and how we can improve. But largely, it was a one-off. It's the cup is the cup. It's done and dusted now, and we can totally focus on the league. So we're just really looking forward now.
Yeah. And I suppose associated with that, when I look at the stats, you've had a lot of possession and a lot of shots. I mean, is there anything you can palpably do to change that into more positive?
I mean, there's so many positives in the performance for pretty much all the games we've played this season, and in terms of the attacking play, how much we're creating, how many opportunities we're creating. A little bit of decision making maybe at the other end of the pitch of when to shoot, when to find an extra pass. That's something that we'll work on, and we'll sharpen up and improve, and the boys will get that the more games we'll play. But certainly in terms of possession is a dangerous stat to be judged on, but certainly territory and final third entries, box entries, it's heavily in our favour, and the boys are doing a lot of good things, and we've got to keep doing that and improving on that, because the results are the results, but over time I think if you get the level of performance and keep doing the right things, then in the end you should get what you deserve.
Okay, you're coming up to the transfer deadline. Any incomings, outgoings you can tell us about? I
think it's just the nature of this time 2 days to go, Friday, and you got a game on a Saturday. I think there's rumours, there's calls, everyone's ringing anything. Do you know this? Do you know that? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? I think at this stage we are where we are. We're pretty calm. I'm happy with the squad we've got. So there's not really any drama from my point of view.
Okay, and just lastly, an incoming, your Brazilian signing. What did you like about him? What attracted you?
Yeah, he's an impressive young man. He speaks a number of languages. Really good character, really great personality, settled in really quickly, trained with the boys yesterday, and we're delighted to have him. We obviously had Lucas as a left back. Young George has played and done really well, but lost Alex pre-season for a longer period of time, so it was a position we needed to balance off, and Neto, we're delighted to have him. He's a really good fit for that position.
Great. Thank you very much.
Where are we at with injuries?
Where we are, Riley's been a little bit slower than we hoped, so he won't be ready for this week. Johnny's pushing me like crazy to be fit, but we've got to make a decision on Johnny, and Rav will have to see really tomorrow and see how he goes with that. But that's a little bit touch and go. So other than that, Dara and Dale are a little bit further, Marcus is a bit further, as we know, and Tommy.
How long are we looking at with Dale and Dara? Because I guess the follow-up question to that is does that mean that centre half is potentially the last bit of business you're looking to do tomorrow?
I think on Dale and Dara probably it is that they've both been out for a longer period of time. They came back and trained around the group pre-season, and then both picked up kind of small issues in and around that I said to you we've got to manage and be patient with, and so Dale's had a bit of a calf problem that he's kind of coming back from, and Dara's had a bit of tendonitis in and around his Achilles, so thankfully it's not the issue from why they were out a longer period before that, but it has kind of stopped them from coming back as quickly as they would have liked and we would have liked. But after the international, we'll try and get them back in and around as soon as we can.
Fair to say then that that's an area that you're at least assessing, because I guess you don't want to leave yourself short.
It's a constant evaluation really of where we are, and of the balance of the squad. Who's injured is the little gaps that we need to fill. Just because lads are injured doesn't mean that you've got to replace them by any stretch, because they'll be fit and being around it as well. So there's a decision that's obviously ongoing, and evaluating that as just because it's a transfer window, but as the season goes anyway, trying to plan. But the other side of it is how short term do you look, and how much do you kind of value the next game or few games, and how important that can be, and how long the injuries are. So there's a lot that goes into it. We'll assess that.
Just on Rav, I know it's kind of inevitable at this stage, but being linked with Fulham, I know Borough have kind of been adamant bullish in the stance that they're going to keep hold of the kind of key assets. I guess that's unchanged as it go.
Yeah, of course. Sitting here for me, I think we've got a really good squad. We've got some good players, and I think when you've got good players, it's understandable that they're talked about, and understandable that maybe some teams are looking at them, and that's natural. I think this time of year, when it gets into the late in the transfer window, then that kind of ramps up in terms of the rumour mill and what's true and what's not really. But as we stand, of course, we're the same. Ralph's a terrific player. He had a really good season with us, and we're delighted the way he's going.
And Coburn's the other one, Josh is the other one. When you say about kind of rumours and speculation there, I know you've been asked about that, but any change from your? No. Listen, to
be honest, there's plenty of interest in Josh, and plenty teams would love to have him. So, but from my point of view, nothing's changed as yet. What I will say, and it's not just Josh, it's all right me being here, sitting here now, and there's still a day to go at least, and a lot can change. So sometimes it's some things that I've always said to you that can come out from nowhere a little bit. So, but I'm calm with the way it's going, and we'll make any decision will be made for the right reasons, and we'll hopefully come out better for it.
Thank you.
Just on Neto, Michael, I know you mentioned the other night that was still a bit of paperwork. Is that all concluded now? Is he available?
We're still going through it. We're treating him as available. Yeah, we're still going through it though. So there is things that need kind of be ticked off by then.
Yeah. On the transfer front, obviously, as you mentioned, game Saturday, so it makes it a bit difficult. I presume you'll travel with the squad on Friday. What will the mechanics of the day?
No, won't change for us. Won't change one bit for us. Train in the morning, and we'll fly down to Cardiff mid-afternoon. So that's how it is.
Yeah, and it will just be a case of he'll keep a close eye on the phone just in case.
Yeah, I'll leave Kieran to deal with that.
Yeah. On the injury front, obviously, we had the problems last season, but it wasn't exclusive to Middlesbrough. It was a trend across the game. Is it a little frustrating from your point of view? I know there's a few that kind of carried over from last season, but a few new ones as well. You haven't seemed to kind of change that look as of yet.
Yeah, I think it depends how you look at it. Like there is 3 or 4 now. 4 probably carried out from last season with Tommy and Marcus and Darren and Dale. So it's how do you assess the injury? You've got to be careful about jumping to too many conclusions. But it just so happens that in some ways we got a number of them in similar position. But I think most teams throughout the country, throughout the land, will have had some issues, and it just. It's just managing them as they come and trying to keep them to a minimal, and hopefully that they're not all in the same position, and you get the balanced team. And certainly, of course, like any team, we do things to minimise that and to put things in place and to try and prevent as much as we can. But it is what it is, and football has always had injuries, always will have injuries, and it's part of managing that process.
Yeah, as we say, this is not exclusive to Middlesbrough. The same injuries have gone up across the game in the last kind of year or so. And there's a lot of talk around that with kind of the schedule and the workload on players because of all the tournaments, all the cups, etc., international and club. From your point of view, do you feel, as a coach, as an ex-player, that there is too much demand on players now?
It depends. I think, I'm going to open a can of worms here maybe, but I think in terms of the league and domestic league football, I think it's largely there. It's been there for a long period of time. I think international and probably the tournaments throughout and summer tournaments and time down and recovery time and downtime for players is probably getting less. Maybe more the international players. But I think largely, tell me if I'm wrong, in terms of the schedule of the league and the cups, I mean, if anything, it's dropped down without 2-legged games or replays, and it's kind of the intensity of the football's there. Pitches are better in some ways and firmer, so there's a little bit more stress maybe going through the body and the joints and the tendons. But in terms of the schedule of football, I think largely domestically it's okay.
Just we've touched on kind of Rav there, and not specifically Rav, but the kind of stance at the club this summer around key players and not wanting to sell them where possible. I mean, from your point of view as a coach, how pleasing is that to have those above you kind of having that stance and backing you in that way?
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic for me. You know, we've got to be realistic at the same time as well, and understand where we kind of are on the football ladder and what that means. But certainly intentions are all for me in the right direction, and I've had nothing but support really for my time here, and I know with the conversations we've had what we're trying to achieve, but yeah, we have to be realistic and deal with what comes. But certainly, as I stand, I've got absolutely no complaints.
Just finally from me, I know it was mentioned recently about Graham joining the club in the summer, and just a couple more on him. I mean, obviously Aaron left probably rather unexpectedly for Bayern. When that happened, was it kind of an obvious choice for you to turn to Graham and try and bring Graham in?
It was obvious in some ways, but then it was obvious it wasn't in other ways. I think I didn't want it to be just the easiest obvious thing of and seeing as bringing my brother in. I think there's really good reasons for it. You know, he knows me, he knows the coaches, he knows how we play, he knows he's been in around the times around the training ground, so he got it. We were keen on not changing too much because we feel that we were on a good kind of trajectory, so it fit a lot of things, you know, and as a coach for him and kind of the career path that he'd been on, it was the natural progression. So I have to say it's been really good how the dynamics of the coaching staff and backroom staff have worked, and it's fitted in really well.
Yeah, you mentioned obviously his background, and you know a lot of his kind of earlier coaching before this were around young players and kind of younger player development, which is obviously something that this club's very keen to do. Did that make it, you know, a good fit in that sense? Yeah,
it was just a number of things, and it wasn't being, you know, related to me in that regard. It was what he's good at, what his strengths are, what his experience is in, what do we need to to fill little gaps within our coaching setup, and that's kind of why, and his experience at that, younger players and what it takes and the progression through the academies into senior football and into first team football was important for sure.
Yeah, and on the dynamics of how it works, obviously Aaron was an assistant, now Jonathan just the assistant. I mean, has that changed anything day to day in terms of how you work?
Not really. I'm pretty hands on. I quite like getting involved in planning sessions, planning the week, what the month looks like, what players need, what extras, and so I've always been quite and I enjoy that side of it. So we share the load, we work together, but in terms of that, it hasn't really affected too much.
So just one more on transfer, if you don't mind. Oh, sorry, Rob. You sure? You go first, Rob, and then I'll go at the end. I was just going to say, how do you reflect on the window as a whole? I know there's a day left, but you were saying there you're calm about it, and I think the fact that you're in a calm position is probably credit to everyone felt the summer's gone, because a lot of clubs probably are feeling that way at this stage.
Yeah, do you know what? It's not easy. It's never straightforward, and I've been on the other side and as a player and as a supporter and crying out for certain things to happen and what seems obvious, but it's not always that easy. And without repeating myself, I think we've made a conscious effort to really plan ahead and focus over a period of time now, over 12 to 18 months, of how we want to try and develop the group and the club, and so to get a lot of work done early we felt beneficial, and puts us, we feel, in a good place to move forward. And there's always tweaks, there's always little changes as you go along, and some come out of the blue, some are planned, and but we're in a good place to deal with whatever comes.
Brilliant, thank you. Sorry, Rob.
Back to the game on Saturday, obviously 12:30 kick-off, which is very, very early start for the supporters. How much of a boost are the supporters at away games?
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy with the early kick-offs in such a long way. So again, we appreciate the effort and the lack of sleep that many might go through. We're fortunate enough to be able to fly down to tomorrow afternoon, but yeah, listen, the support of the away games, as I've said many times, is something that we really thrive off and enjoy, and had some good days over the last couple of years, and hopefully there's many more of those.
And obviously, with the exception of a fantastic result at Leeds in the Cup, it would be good to get off the mark an away game, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. I don't think we change a lot of how we're going about things. I think a lot of the performance is really good. and there's a lot of positives as I touched on at the start. The opportunities and chances we're creating, and find little details here and there. So, but we don't need to be desperate and chasing it. I think it's a long journey and it's a long season, and we keep doing the right things, and then we'll be fine.